Publicly traded company purchased an NFT yesterday. $25 million.
Knew that was a marketing stunt from 1 second in. I mean,
we're making history, man. Think of that. It's a pretty, even if it is like a marketing stunt, or it was probably part of the negotiation of the Echo buyout.
For sure.
That still might be the first time, right? First time a publicly traded company's bought an NFT.
No way. You think so?
Anna, do you know any?
No, some others Visa bought like the whatever they bought, Pudgies or whatever the hell Visa bought back in the day. Maybe it was Punks. Yeah, those ones.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Back in the day.
Yeah, and like I don't know, the NFT mania was crazy. There was like a lot of grifting and things going on at that point in time. So I don't know if this was the first publicly traded company buying an NFT, but hey, they bought one and burned it.
That they did. Well, that's probably the best place to start. Coinbase has purchased Echo for $375 million. My guess is it was probably $400 million, and then they pieced this out because they wanted him to do a show. First, dissecting the purchase of Echo, we did see that Legion, who is an Echo competitor, partnered with Kraken a few months ago to launch basically regulated ICOs on the platform. Now Coinbase comes a few months later after the partnership announcement and just literally buys Echo, which is a great deal because you get Kobe with it, who's the biggest crypto personality in the industry. And what's your take on ICOs coming to market and also Kobe being acquired by Coinbase?
Most likely they vastly overpaid. But that said, like just the way I think about like Coinbase isn't great at building stuff that has success in the market really, other than its exchange. I just think it was a smart move to like move into a space that they want to move into and just buy the lead, which I think is smart. Whether or not it's worth $375 million, like I don't think any math that is possible can make sense of that. But sometimes you're buying for something 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road, and it may look cheap in that kind of rear view mirror thing. And then you are buying a voice. Like I do think buying a voice is valuable. Again, I don't think he's worth $50 million, but or whatever it is, his little what's it worth for him to run a pod for a couple of years? I don't know. That's hard to quantify, but I think buying the leader in the space, I think is actually, this is what they're moving. This is where they're moving. And I think, buying an IPO platform, as long as the regulations stay, cool, it could be great. And I think they'll stay cool. So I think it's a great acquisition.
It looks like Coinbase is down 0.5% on the day from market open. So there's no impact on the current price. But I do suspect here that in part of the combination, when they first announced that they had bought the NFT, I was like, oh, they're going to do, it's $3 million an episode. That could have like market impact. But my thought was like, it would just end up being like a base coin, like TGE shill, like at the end.
I mean, just remember the NFTs when he did the exchange, there were rumors that they spent $100+ million building that NFT marketplace.
They did. It was more.
I thought it was like literally $1 billion was like I swear, which was crazy. Could be wrong, but I swear I'm pretty sure it was like
I saw actually a tweet today. They're saying that the guy who had built the Coinbase NFT marketplace ended up getting a payout of like 25 million after he was fired.
Wow.
So they'd spent a shitload of money on it.
Wow.
And that was a horrific fail. I don't know if anyone even actually ever used it. But yeah, Chris, what's your take on Coinbase coming in, acquiring Echo, Kobe, and Ledger, running up only? Ledger's family, man, must be happy just riding the coattails of that and getting paid $12 million for a few episodes.
Yeah, pretty nuts. What's my take here? It definitely makes me think that Kobe's more of an industry plant than I ever thought that he would have been before, and like natural, as we all thought that it would be. He just became active. I don't know. I don't really follow him, but he just started showing up on my timeline again like last week or in the last couple weeks, and then boom, announces the deal. Gives the Kobe lore. Says he's not a billionaire. I don't think that anyone thought that he was a billionaire from like liquid trading. He had access to the best private deals in the industry, and the industry went to literal multi-trillion dollars in market cap. So I don't know. The math would seem it's almost impossible for him to not be a billionaire within like all of his private round deals. Everyone wanted him as a seed round investor. So I think that's suspicious. I think, people would pay $100 million to get Kobe on their cap table. I don't think that that's a stretch by any means. And then as far as like the Echo deal in particular, it just seemed like they wanted some sort of acqui-hire, and what they probably pay him like half in stock, half in cash. And so they pay $150 million. They get Kobe to run their media team for a year or two, and they get whatever Echo is, which is a functioning business that has some sort of potential. If it's run by institutional operators, I think that that's not totally overpaying, but I mean, it's cool to see. You got to applaud anyone getting an exit, especially a multi-$100 million exit. So valuable 2 years of work for Kobe, I guess.
For sure.
And we have experience with Echo. We did a keys sale through Echo for an amount, and now we're actually refunding all of the amount because of we're discontinuing keys, but have gone through that whole process from end to end. And I gotta say it was pretty smooth. There's a few kind of lengthy periods on the back end of raising capital and having to sign documentation and going back and forth. That's not just an Echo thing. That's just traditional business world, to say the least.
What was their fee? I can't remember what it was, more or less.
So Echo doesn't actually take a fee unless there's an actual TGE. And I think the token has to do well. Like it has to go above the seed round price for them to actually take a fee. So a lot of times they're just kind of doing it for free. So maybe it's good for Coinbase because they could add whatever their egregious fee model is. I think they take like 2% on spot prices or something like that. It's like pretty insane. But they're going to open up capital to investors. I think this is kind of a death nail to memes, in my opinion. I think with Legion partnering with Kraken, with Echo being acquired by Coinbase, you're just going to start seeing more things pushed to ICOs and products. Look, like Pump Fund announced that they haven't announced it, but they're teasing that they have the ICM spotlight. You have a thing on Solana called the ICM Run. You also have Bankr Fund that's doing really well in ICM. To me, it's just like all signs point towards utility coins and ICO 2.0 era coming back, which is something we've been saying for like a year at this point or more. So props to all the projects. It's going to be a good time. It's probably going to be some quite insane ICOs over the next few years that are going to get a lot of capital. And whichever ones probably look most like TradFi are probably the ones that are going to do the best, because those new people are going to come in, right? Mom and dad and boomers who are accredited investors are going to come in and they're going to use Coinbase to buy all these ICOs. And some teams will do pretty well. And maybe they'll finally be able to open up access to non-accredited investors because of it being acquired by the Coinbase platform. Maybe they they cover some sort of regulatory environment to where you can allow retail to participate, because Coinbase is effectively the leader in regulatory, or I guess in the regulatory aspect of crypto itself.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. Obviously, like you just said, like the fees, they probably hadn't made any money then, which makes it interesting. But that doesn't mean it's not valuable. I think even with this kind of return to utility, obviously it's still going to be 98%, 99% nothing. I mean, we saw that with Believe. I don't know. I look at it. This is a decade, 2 decades to really build this out where, companies are doing their IPOs through this platform like this that aren't just kind of native crypto companies. It may be 5 years at the minimum. I don't know, Chris, what you think, how long it's going to be, but feels like that is still going to be a while. Yeah.
I mean, but you can see the ripples though, that it's all starting, right? I think Jake's right. I think you guys are both right that this is ICO 2.0. And I think that that's what people want. That like memes are cool. They're fun to play around in, but people like to feel like they're investing in the next big thing, not like the next big animal token. I think is like a part of like the human intuition that they like to feel smart. They like to feel informed. They like to feel like they're betting on the future. And I think like that's totally like what the industry was kind of founded on. So I don't know. We'll see if Coinbase can make anything happen. They have like Adam said earlier, they have trouble getting any kind of motion with any products that goes through their wheelhouse. So we'll see. I think the biggest thing is, do you guys think Kobe's a billionaire? Do you think he was just LARPing? Like how, if he's not a billionaire,
I doubt it.
How is anyone in the industry a billionaire?
No, he broke it down the other day, how much he started with and stuff. And yeah.
Running up $200 to like 500 mils. Pretty nice. So
yeah,
but that's like such a weird metric. Like, what did I start with? That means like maybe he'd never put in another dollar, but probably he did. Maybe I'm talking about like in private deals alone, how many L1s was he able to be a seed investor in that went to literal multi-billion dollars?
Yeah, but remember, you got to have money to invest in seeds. And like, I don't know. I could definitely see him not being. Yeah, absolutely. I know the way crypto work, we all have friends and whatever who've done nothing and made 100 times more than we've made. Right. So I don't,
just the private deals is what makes it suspicious, because his deal flow is better than anyone else's in the entire industry. Everybody would want him to be a seed investor in their product. So whether he just passed on them all, or he definitely had enough money to at least seed these companies. And literally how many L1s went to tens of billions of dollars in market cap that he could have been a seed investor in? How many products went to hundreds of millions that he could have been a seed investor in? I don't know. It seems suspicious, but maybe
he could have round tripped a lot of it. I know he was like an advisor to Lido. I think that's like the biggest one, right? That was like one of the gigantic winners last cycle.
Right. That was like, the biggest staking platform in crypto.
Yeah, I think it still might be, or maybe Solana has taken over it a little bit.
They offered him 20% for $500. He was like, nah, keep my money in Bitcoin. Nah, who knows, man?
I don't know. It just,
I think either way, he's good, right? He's certainly in the, 100 million club, or multiple hundreds of millions, right? So, after that, it's all just numbers, man.
Yeah, but I mean, he's like the poster child of the industry. He's like what every crypto Twitter guy would want to be. Young, was in the right place at the right time, had money to do so, right? He has that famous tweet of bottom of the bear market in 2020, COVID crash, where he was like, one for my bloodline, one for my family, whatever it was. And he deployed like 10 or 12 million at like 3K Bitcoin. I don't know. Seems like that plus your private rounds. I don't understand how you don't get to $1 billion. But hey, maybe my math is wrong.
Yeah, one of the so this guy Akil, head of corp of Coinbase, says Coinbase has acquired Echo. Echo complements our recent acquisition of Liquify. Liquify's hold on, it's getting called. It says Liquify is distribute and launch tokens compliantly across vesting, lockups, tax withholding, airdrops, and payroll. Setting up Coinbase to support token issuers, investors across the full life cycle. And then they posted a kind of image here. So they're using Liquify to create the token, investor management. Then it says they're using Echo for private fundraising, Echo for public token sales, Coinbase for SEX listing and distribution, and then Coinbase and Base for the utility. So this completes their end-to-end life cycle of a token's history. And does this change your perspective on what they are looking at? Showing, hey, we support the whole stack now, from creating a token, creating a company, all the way to putting that motherfucker on chain and dealing with the on-chain economy. Does this now show the vision a little bit more of it being worth it?
Kind of. You know, so much depends on the regulatory environment, right? You know, in the US, are people going to be able to buy, you know, on-chain IPOs? I can't see it anytime soon. I mean, this is going to require movement of either they lean in like an Uber did and they just do things basically skirting the law to some degree, or, you know, I don't know. I get it. I get the vision. I totally agree with it. But we all know how that, I mean, dude, this would have been completely impossible. You know what, a year ago? Completely 100% impossible. So I like that they're leaning in. Like, we know there's a window here of a few years where you try to lean in. I mean, honestly, they should try and get some big companies to IPO this way. Like, that would be smart, right? Get it like going, get through a few through the door, and make it so kind of the US can't come back from it almost. But a lot of it feels like still right on the edge. Like, there's just a lot of, you know, government regulators who would love to shut this shit down. Love to.
Oh yeah, Elizabeth Warren calling for it
Oh, yeah.
consistently.
I mean, which
so
makes the challenge, and you guys maybe comment on this, it makes it really challenging. I mean, I know Echo did a pretty good job of like vetting, you know, but even still, like, how do you make sure that like a real rug doesn't come in, that it's real teams like that? That seems to me like something they'd have to kind of struggle with a bit.
Yeah, I completely agree as well. So, you know, I guess we'll see what happens here in the near future. But congrats to Coinbase for making another acquisition. There's tons and tons of acquisitions. Oh, also MetaDAO is one of the other kind of ICO platforms that have been taking off. Also something called the Futarchy AMM. So MetaDAO has generated over 350K in revenue from its new ICO iterations in the Futarchy AMM. There's this new thing that's happening on Solana recently. It's called prop AMMs, basically just creating new front ends to the DEX experience that exists on Solana. So they're all using Jupyter on the back end, and then creating these different style AMMs. Remember, this was happening last cycle in DeFi summer, where you had like Uniswap, then you had Sushi, and then you had 1inch, and then I forget, there was like a few others, right? Then there was like PancakeSwap on BSC and doing their token compliance. And now we are running the same playbook on Solana, it seems. Also, I don't know if you saw, but Uniswap integrated Solana in the
Let's see that, yeah,
into the DEX, and they're using Jupyter on the back end, and all the ETH maxis are just crying a river because they didn't build it out on their own, and that they're using Jupyter. Man, is Solana really eating Ethereum's lunch? I don't know if you guys saw the Polygon founder. Did you see this yesterday? The Polygon founder basically came out and said that the Ethereum Foundation has failed him, and that they're considering alternative options here. Let me see if I could pull this up.
Founder Sandeep, what? That's crazy.
Yeah, you didn't see this? This was like a big thing yesterday. And then Toli was in the comments like, come over and with us. He basically, Sandeep said, not gonna lie, I've started questioning my loyalty towards Ethereum and not come in crypto because of Bitcoin, but because of Ethereum. I also have a lot of gratitude to Ethereum. But then he basically goes on to say, like, why are they continuing to sell tokens? Who are these people funding? He goes on to say, look at Hedera Hashgraph, which is an L1 and is valued more than Polygon, Arbitrum, and Optimism combined. So more than all of the L2s together. And he basically goes on to say that the Ethereum Ethereum community needs to look at itself pretty hard, and that it's been basically a mess for a few years. And then there's a lot of other comments that continue to go on. What do you guys think about Ethereum? Is Ethereum in a state of discontent? Is it ever going to come back? Or is it just going to be monopolized by Wall Street at this point, and all of the cypherpunks and OGs are just going to have to move to a different area because the Ethereum Foundation is just completely disconnected from its current user base?
Man, I don't know. It's funny. I was looking at Polygon the other day. I was like, wow, it's really this is like the lowest of low for their token. It's the lowest. I think it's near all-time low. And I'm wondering, if this is kind of his, like, I mean, when he took over again of the whatever DAO or whatever 6-8 months ago, I was like, is he going to really try and mix something up here? Because the reality is they have one winning app on their chain, and I've seen a Polymarket guy actually tweeting about, hey, he's mentioning the token. Maybe they come up with some sort of like scheme. I'm almost a buyer of Polygon right now. It's like maybe him and Polymarket come up with a scheme to whatever, make this a L2 on Solana or whatever. I don't know, just do something interesting. Could be in the mix here. I don't know, Chris, what do you think?
Well, I mean, we've talked about buying Polygon before, Adam. I forbid you to buy the Polygon token.
Okay, I'm forbidden.
I forbid you. I mean, funny enough that Sandeep is talking to anyone about selling the tokens. That guy has sold more tokens than anyone in the entire industry. That's all he does is sell his token. So funny to point blame when his token is the lowest of the lows, because all he does is sell it. That's why it's literally at all-time low. Yeah. As far as like the Ethereum and the cypherpunk movement, it seems like the most cypherpunk thing for them to do is to do nothing, to not try and do nothing at all and just leave it as a decentralized ledger that institutions can use, or people can choose to use, or whoever wants to use. I don't know. Seems to be what they've been doing anyways, even though they've been trying to do things. They haven't done anything. So I don't know. Maybe that is the cypherpunk movement in a nutshell, rather than keep on trying to change it into something that it's not, or competing with new technology that it's just not built to compete with. As far as the ETH maxis crying, is there still ETH maxis out there? Like, I mean, like that meme of like the last soldiers from the Vietnam War, like the last ones that have never tried a Solana transaction, that see that it's competing in a totally different like league than Solana or than Ethereum can. I don't know. That was always my pitch when I was an early Solana guy. I was like, you just have to try to use the chain. Just use it and see what you can instantly tell that there's massive differences. So being an ETH maxi in the big 2.5, probably an L, but I'm still bullish on the Ethereum token over time. I don't think that that's going anywhere. I think I've talked about it before, but I see it as more of like a store of value, more of like a decentralized form of like money, rather than like, the next big tech company. So I think it's up there closer to a Bitcoin than it is closer to a Solana. And I actually think that's like a bull case. Yeah,
it feels like we're going through a centralization cycle right now, right? Like every chain is a centralized chain. Everybody's going to have an L2, or even everybody's going to have their own L1. Now it's almost moved to that. And yeah, maybe the best thing Ethereum can do is remain this like super robust, decentralized chain. And then people come back to it, find it later when they actually need it. I don't know.
I mean, if you think about it, Bitcoin is like the best asset in maybe the world, right? And Ethereum is like the closest to that, the best distributed, the most decentralized next to Bitcoin. Like there's a huge market for that. Whether it is kind of like more of a silver to a gold, there's always going to be like another Solana, there's always going to be a bigger, faster, quicker, more latent free chain. But to build a new decentralized money, it's impossible, because you can't go back in time. You can't change the distribution mechanics. You can't change the decentralization of the chain. So I don't know. I would just like to see them kind of lean more into that, make improvements if they can, but I don't think that they should be trying to compete when that's not who they are.
Well, the thing that Bitcoin maxis and Ethereum maxis seem to be agreeing on recently is privacy money and Zcash. That's made a incredible comeback, almost wiped out all of its USD losses within this recent pump. I recently experimented with near intent and using Zcash. That's like the big breakthrough. I think that's like kind of what's been pushing the narrative on Solana. It's kind of interesting. Near intents is, I guess you would say, it's kind of a competitor to Emblem and to Layer Zero. Layer Zero and Wormhole are a cross-chain messaging system. Emblem's a cross-chain vaulting system. And Near Intents is a cross-chain, I don't even know how to describe it, cross-chain AI system. It's like it kind of replaces miners with AI agents to work for your transactions. It's actually kind of wild how it all works. But this is how you could swap Zcash for Solana. This is how this new thing called Zalshi works, which is like a shielded cross-chain swap. It's literally almost the same thing as what Ghosty Cash is, but just for Zcash instead of Ghosty Cash uses Monero ring signatures, whereas Zalshi uses the Zcash shield, but it's essentially kind of the same thing here. The state of privacy markets and privacy tokens. I've seen people on the timeline say all the KOL influencers are shilling Zcash because the better privacy money is Monero. That can't be bought anywhere, so they got to be able to fill their bags somewhere. I've got other people saying Zcash is the future and everything's going to be shielded. Adam, what's the future of privacy money? As someone, I know you like privacy. You've talked with Taki and you've talked with all the privacy people. You talk about it. Where are we within the privacy focus of the crypto era?
Well, first thing I'd like to talk about along this line is just the KOLs who were kind of shilling Zcash over the last few months. In particular, Gainsey, who was shilling it quite a bit. And, I always kind of take, anybody talking about anything on the timeline, I figure, oh, well, they have a bag of it or whatever. But it kind of struck me this past week. I was talking with a big KOL who I won't name, but he was telling me, hey, you saw this SBF stuff happening? And, people like saying, oh, SBF wasn't that bad and this and that. I was like, yeah. He's like, dude, there are people going around. It's obviously SBF or his family, and they're offering money to basically soft shill this. And they offered me money to soft shill this. And I was like, no shit. And he told me, he's like, look at Gainsey. Gainsey put out some like soft shill of SBF fucking tweets. And I was like, holy shit. The last couple of weeks, he has been like, yeah, nobody should go to, he's being treated worse than a white collar criminal or whatever, And I was like, holy shit. He's like, yeah, this is happening universally, not only for number go up technology, not only for tokens, but just general, like, I want to move the way people are thinking right now. And I'm going to go out there and pay influencers to soft talk about this thing. It was brought home to me because this guy pointed out Gainsey taking money for SBF, probably, most likely. I mean, it's an accusation. I mean, but allegedly, but those two things in the matter of like 2 months, I was like, no shit. That's just really interesting to me. Not to say I don't think Zcash has some value, or, as a privacy technology, I like the idea of it. But I just thought that was really interesting, where we're just moving into this future where if it's a political thing or whatever, the lines are super blurry about who's actually paying for what the fuck is getting talked about on the timeline. It just opened my eyes a little bit. I was like, holy shit, that's fucking nuts. That's fucking nuts. But I don't know. Yeah.
It's so funny. Before I do pass this over to Chris, I'm scrolling through the timeline, looking at different types of posts, and there's like 5 Zcash posts immediately. Ansem saying buying Zcash at 300 is like buying Bitcoin at 300. And then right underneath it, you have Beanie saying trying to compare Zcash to Bitcoin is some real mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
The algo is just on fire. Speaking of that, the X algo has changed. It's now AI based. And then Mert, literally 2 posts under this, says I will try this once. Monero and certain BTC folks are devs writing privacy code in literal jail right now. When Zcash succeeds, things like Monero also succeed. All privacy succeeds. Man, they're a privacy focus. Chris,
See, like Mert, I understand. He's coming at it from. He's said, I have bags of this stuff. So like, that's for me. That's like transparent, and I have no problem with. But I do have a problem with like people getting paid to just sway attention. For me, it's like now I'm assuming everybody's paid for everything now on the time. Like that was a bit of a wake up. I mean, I kind of knew it, but I didn't think it had to do with like just straight, like almost political posts on the time. Like it just, everything is paid now. And I just, so it was a real, I don't know. Bummer.
Well, speaking of people getting paid, the next topic I was going to dive into is the influencer wars of prediction markets. But first, I do want to get Chris's take on the state of privacy markets. And is privacy going to succeed? Is this just people showing their bags? Or is there something larger going on where we're finally going to break through of privacy token adoption?
Man. Well, first off, I know that Zcash was I think he's the only sponsor of Gainsy stream. So like he's an actual sponsor of the entire Pump Fun stream. They're like partners in that. I don't know if that's Cypherpunk to be sponsoring podcasts. I don't know if that's the heart of the Cypherpunk movement. Could be, but I don't know if it is.
Wait, so Zcash sponsors his pod?
Yeah, 100%.
Who exactly is? I thought Zcash was like, I guess it's not decentralized at all.
I mean,
Zcash Foundation.
Why can't we have the Ethereum Foundation? Fucking get some positive.
Right. So yeah, and they've been the main sponsor from basically the beginning. It's been like months at this point. So definitely paid to talk about it. Definitely it's on his stream every single day. When you hear about privacy though, I don't doubt that their tech is real. I know that their team is real. And, I just think that you never really see privacy talked about in a good light. Even within the early days of crypto, it was always like really in the dark corners. Like nobody really wanted to recognize the true power of what private currency really meant. And so to see everybody kind of like fawning over Zcash is a little bit strange because no one ever talks about privacy in such a good light, especially like as a collective. We're all the detractors that should be kind of coming in and saying that this is going to funnel, drug cartels and dark markets all throughout the world. That's always like the big argument, right? So I do think it is a little suspicious, but I hope that we go through a privacy era, just that we never thought that governments would allow crypto to exist. And we definitely never thought that they would allow private crypto to exist. This is what people have been jailed for. This is what any privacy developer has risked their life for. This is the entire reason that Satoshi had to remain anonymous, is because if his project were to get big enough to succeed, he would be jailed or killed. And so now to see just random Twitter influencers be bandwagoning privacy like it's like a meme coin meta, it seems a little suspicious to me, because this is the darkest and most powerful, basically, innovation. The only thing that keeps like mega institutions in power, because without transparent transactions, you can funnel whoever, wherever, whenever you want. And that's a pretty big step for humanity. It's a lot of responsibility. It's also a big risk, but it's definitely something that, as the true powers of the world do exist, they never wanted that to exist widespread for humanity. So to see it kind of become the most recent popular fanfare, I think that's like the most suspicious thing about the meta.
KOLs, financial entertainment, really coming center stage here. Yesterday, even before the Kobe announcement of Up Only, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Thread Guy actually got signed to Polymarket as the top KOL influencer in the industry. They had a cool kind of 2-minute breakdown here. This comes on the heels of Kalshi and Polymarket basically in a bidding war for every single account of influence that exists outside of a company. So I'm talking about like accounts that do not operate a company or work for a company, but are essentially free agents. I've seen people say that these people who are or these influencers or large accounts of leadership are getting paid anywhere from, I've heard 6,000 a month, I've heard 30,000 a month. I don't think anyone really knows. Some people calling the influencers poor for signing on here. Really, Kalshi and Polymarket coming in and competing for every single dollar and every single unit of attention between bidding on these people. It's kind of crazy because it all happened out of nowhere. It was like, Kalshi, who's not even a crypto native product, but is starting to come on chain. They hired a bunch of crypto individuals. I think this guy named John Wang is the leader of it. I saw that Kalshi said that they want to deploy on Solana is where they're looking to start their prediction market on. It's pretty, there's not really any leaders on Solana right now for prediction market. The other top ones, obviously Polymarket is in the lead, Kalshi, and then you have something called Limitless is a prediction market that's taking off on Base. And then I think in fourth, you have Farouk's company, Myriad Markets, over on Abstract. But Myriad, I think, is like 1% of the volume of what exists on Polymarket. So where we are today, it just seems like financial entertainment is really taking over. Crypto influencers now have more power than a lot of the traditional type people. Obviously, some of people like Tom Lee and some of the people who are on CNBC for a long time still have enormous amounts of power, but it does seem like the crypto natives are starting to really gain on this. And the Coinbase signing is kind of showing they're overpaying it a little bit potentially, as well as whatever Thread guy just signed to Polymarket. So Adam, what do you think here? You could take either angle of just influencers getting signed all over the place, as we were just talking about the Zcash shills, a lot of those being undisclosed. The prediction markets are going the complete opposite of disclosing these shills, but then also combining it with prediction markets, which is by far the breakout app of crypto in terms of popularity among the mainstream. Obviously, Pump Fund's the breakout app among crypto natives, but among the general public, it's prediction markets.
Yeah, I think that this is just when companies bump into all this money. This is like such a nothing risk. The amount of money they're going to spend, even if it's $1 million, they're paying, Thread over the next 18 months or something. It's nothing. It's like literally a drop in the bucket. And this is like, it's just a attention game. It's the same thing. It's literally the same thing Coinbase is doing. Just how do we get attention? Thread guy gets attention literally every day on the chart or on the timeline. So it's like, it's a no brainer, man. It was only a matter of time with who's going to win. Yeah. It's grabbing crypto Twitter mindshare, a little bit more expensive than hiring, outside influencers, maybe. Should be a lot more expensive. But the reality is, it's like even Thread, it's so funny that he influences crypto Twitter, and that's basically it. But crypto Twitter is so wealthy that it is of tremendous value, right? Like outside of crypto Twitter, like my kid's got exponentially more followers than fucking Thread guy, exponentially, like times 10,000 more, right? But he can't pull money, right? And Thread can pull money, and yeah, it's good for him, man. I'm happy for him. Going to be more of them, I'm sure.
I saw a comparison yesterday that Joe Rogan gets paid on average $800,000 a show, and so Up Only is getting paid $3.15 million per show. So 3 times as much, but as Adam says, it is the wealth that exists. You're basically saying the quality of attention is 3 times more valuable than the quality of attention of Joe Rogan, which is probably right. Not
probably
to
way more than that, honestly. It's probably way more than 3.
Right. So you think of the people who are listening to Joe Rogan, obviously myself included, but you're getting to a lot of just the general public who's not financially literate or just is not financially invested in the future of financial products, right? They're just there to kind of listen for entertainment. Whereas people listening to crypto shows are generally listening for alpha and for signal for different types of investment. Chris, where do you think either the state of prediction markets and just the breakout nature of it, or the direction of prediction markets leveraging financial entertainment and influencers to push their agenda?
Definitely the most crypto thing ever. The financialization of everything is happening before our eyes. People love to gamble. People love to think that they're right. You know, people want to bet on their opinions. Before, it was hard to express that you had a strong opinion and actually get paid for it. And many people's opinions are awful. So, I mean, I'm extremely thankful that they're able to actually put their money on the line and, you know, maybe get paid or most likely lose their money because of their opinions. But I'm happy to exist. I think that the proliferation of crypto culture is just going to expand and explode throughout mainstream society. Just because not only do we understand the internet more than anyone else, we also understand money more than pretty much anyone else on the planet. So you understand the attention game, you understand the technology game, and you understand the financial game. And so that kind of like trifecta of just general knowledge, the average person in crypto has 100x the knowledge on those three subjects than pretty much anyone else in the world. And so being able to stand on those three foundational topics and really kind of build brands and shove attention to where it's actually needed, I think is probably the most valuable push that we can have. It is interesting that it's Thread Guy, obviously super popular, but a 2020 influencer, right? I mean, you think of how many influencers came and went before him and how many of them were bigger than big. Like, I mean, look how big Kobe is, but there was an onslaught of, you know, other people that were just as big, whether it was like Jeebus or I don't know, I can't remember any of the, you know, Nita Coin or all these guys had hundreds of thousands of followers in 2016 or 2017. And I think that most of them did lose a lot of their money, but they still had their influence, but they didn't have maybe the courage or the confidence to really go out there and get it. Or also another thing that I talk about too is that we came from a different time in crypto where privacy was actually valuable. And then it kind of got swayed the opposite way where people wanted to be extremely public. You know, having a lot of money on chain was dangerous before. And now it's kind of, you know, pretty normalized, but that could be a big factor in it. But I know, all in all, happy to see people get paid. We need more crypto companies going mainstream. So I've got nothing bad to say about things like that.
Yeah, congrats to everyone getting their bag. We'll definitely see how it plays out here in the near future. So now we'll move into kind of the emblem hustle section. A lot of news on our side. Yesterday we announced that we have completed our first buyback of 1.1% of the total supply. I spent close to $100,000, 460 SOL, which is about 54% of revenue generated from the first cohort. So a little bit higher, right, than most people expected. But as we said, we're going to put our money where our mouth is and support the token. Obviously, we will probably be the biggest buyer of Hustle token moving forward as the different ecosystems generate revenue. Is that the utility of the token? I saw Adam yesterday go lose it on our system trader, who I've also lost it on a few times because it just doesn't seem to get the narrative or get the message. But you know, that's okay. It's funny because people say, "Hey, what's the utility of the token?" And you look at yesterday, somebody in the chat was like, study Hyperliquid. And I was like, yeah, if I was generating $5 million a day, I think also would be in a little bit of a different situation. So it's funny how things get really distorted. Also for Pump, right? Everyone's like, the Pump token has utility. The utility is the buyback, right? It's just the utility is the numbers high, right? Although Pump has spent, I saw it the other day, $150 million on buybacks, and the token's now below the ICO price.
Crushed. That's exactly right. I mean, that was my kind of point. It's like, all right, so we're going to pivot from buybacks to integrate. First of all, we know from experience, integrating the token into the mechanics of the platform. God help us. Why would you do that? What on earth would make you want to do that? Right. But it's a moving goalpost, man. At the end of the day, they just want something to make number go up. And that I get. Like, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, they just want a number to fucking go up. They don't care how, but to think that they're, oh, well, when are you going to integrate the token into the, the platform? Or dude, get the fuck out of here, bro. Shut up. Man. Seriously, dude. Seriously. I mean, dude, you're here. Either you believe in what we're doing or you don't. But quit the fucking when what, bro? We've over-delivered by like 100 fucking X. And yet you're still asking us what we're going to do? Go fuck yourself, man.
Have you guys considered just increasing your revenues to like 10 million a day? It seems like you should consider that.
Have you guys consider, Adam, could you just sell your 401k and buy back all my tokens from me, please? Thank you. Bro.
Funny. We're going to continue to grind. I don't know. For me, it's like we just have a bunch of apps that are going to be generating revenue. Obviously, MigrateFun is the leader in that capacity right now. Agent Hustle still has a lot of expansion to go, which will continue to go. And Emblem, we're starting to turn those things back on. Got a bunch of collections that are going to be deploying here pretty soon. Got a call with the Token Works guy, Mr. Adam, in a few days to talk more about Emblem and strategy collections combination. I think that could actually be like a really big opportunity that's going to catch some people by surprise. And that could be actually a really big revenue generator for all parties involved. So we'll see how that goes. The Hustle token was listed on the XT exchange, small exchange. I actually was not aware of it beforehand. And then also an exchange called Grove X is listing the Hustle token tomorrow. I looked up both of these exchanges. They're both like in the 70 to 80th rank. So smaller exchanges, but nonetheless getting some attention. No real impact on the price. So, we'll see how it goes, but appreciate those exchanges for listing Hustle and showing some attention. Moving over to the migration sector of things, MigrateFun will be announcing a Bankr Radium group here in the next few days. That'll take place in a few weeks. Adam and Chris got a bunch of calls this week. Dude, how many MigrateFun calls do we have this week? It's insane.
Bro, I sent in our private chat, I sent the thing, I'd hit the maximum limit of number of channels that you can put inside of a folder on Telegram. Didn't even know there was a max. Apparently 200's the max. I reached that max, which is nuts, bro. Absolutely fucking nuts. So yeah, we got a lot of talking to do.
Lots of talking to do, which is pretty exciting. From the migration side of things, we saw some migration competitors pop up recently. Believe app, we covered a little bit. Covered that a little bit the other day. But to get a little update on there, I'm actually quite surprised at the low turnout of Believe app. They still haven't even got 50% of the total supply migrated a week later. It's at 49.4% here.
How's their chart look? I just asked because I wonder how many people are just like selling rather than migrating. If people don't back your migration, they'll just sell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm out. It's like a vote of confidence. If you don't.
Oh, it is significantly lower than it was before. Yeah. If you look at, so it's at 70 million. It was at, so here it is. The announcement was on the 9th, or maybe it was like right here on the 14th. So it's down literally almost 40% since the announcement. If you look at this candle here, I remember showing it. It was actually the highest volume day since the initial run up, since May.
That doesn't look like a very natural chart right there. Doesn't look that natural, but we'll see.
Yeah, so it is down. People selling. Let's see what the Believe token, although the prices are pegged. Let's see, Believe. So Believe's at 93 million, but obviously you can't sell it at the $93 million price. You can only sell it at the launch coin price, because they used something that Jupiter launched recently called shadow lanes, which are private aggregation pathways. So using their own product to test, something that we do, something that a lot of successful teams tend to do. So we'll see how this goes. I think they got another week or so. I think it ends on like Halloween, the migration for launch coin, and then they have a 2-week claim period. So we'll see how it goes. But something tells me if you're a buyer, you're probably going to want to buy Belief token after the migration ends because they're burning all of the unclaimed supply. So if they're going to burn 50% of the supply, right, it's going to catch the crypto industry off guard probably, and will probably catch a little bit of a pump. So we'll see. The Slurf team completed their migration yesterday. They had a crazy ass run up, which was kind of funny to watch over the weekend. I guess there was a gigantic short squeeze on Binance perps because there was probably an outsized short or open interest on the short position because people were expecting the migration. And of course, Binance just basically liquidates everybody. They probably were just like, there's way too much open interest. There's probably 90% short here. And so they basically just bought up the chart and liquidated everyone and delisted Slurf right afterwards, which I thought was kind of interesting, kind of savage, yeah, to say the least. So maybe some other projects that are migrating here in the near future might want to look for a short opportunity, or maybe go long if it's on Binance because they're gonna
exactly
because they're gonna liquidate you.
With the shorts, it's not a free ride as some may have thought that it was.
Yes, sir. So Slurf yesterday, dude, record. They raked in about 30,000 SOL, so about $5.5 million. They announced yesterday that they completed the payback. So I'm glad that all pre-sellers were refunded. The funny thing here is that they had raised $10 million through 53 million SOL, which is almost the exact price that Solana is today. So when they did the pre-sale, Sol was near the same price that is today. So I think they ended up profiting about $1 million. So congrats to them for fighting through all of the pain. They have a launch pad. They have their migration platform tool. We'll see where the direction of that goes here soon, but congrats to them for participating, and they got all the exchanges there. The Slurf token launches here in the next few minutes. I believe it launches at 2 p.m. Eastern, so in 2 minutes. Should be launching. They're launching it on Meteora, which I believe that's where their launch pad is going to be. They have some sort of sniper fee. I know with Meteora pools, you could do all this like kind of advanced liquidity provisions. So sniper fee at launch starting at 50% and decreasing. I have no idea what that even means, to be completely honest. I guess it says here the exponential fee schedule will be over 120 minutes, not 60 minutes. So I guess that has to do with when you launch, the LP fee is at 50%. And so I guess you get to buy the tokens at a high swap fee. And then as the fee decreases, kind of like a Dutch auction, you can buy more of the token in the LP at a cheaper fee rate, I guess. Not really too sure, but that's kind of what I'm thinking here. So congrats to them, man. They are the first non-MigrateFun platform to complete their migration. And then Launchcoin and Believe app will be kind of shortly after that. Adam, what do you think about migration platforms? Slurf with this kind of crazy amount of money that they made. Sucks. Sad we could not help them out, but totally understand their position.
Yeah, they're good guys. I mean, we still have an ongoing chat with them. Very, we help them a lot, I think. They've helped us with the exchanges and stuff. Wish them absolutely the best. It shows them what migrations can do, really, whether it's getting back some supply, your LP pool, interesting dynamics. They're a smart team. They really are. So, and they pulled it off pretty seamlessly. We'll see how it goes now with this. I think it's smart to get that kind of bot protection in the front. So we'll see how it goes, but they've done a great job so far, I think.
Yeah. Shout out to the Slurf team. What's up, Dax? Dax, what are we doing? Glad to catch you. Congrats on the Zira success, man. We were just talking about privacy tokens and the privacy kind of ecosystem about 20 minutes ago. Dove in there. So congrats to you guys for finding that option. By far the best migration participation rate ever, 95% for the Zira team. So congrats to you guys in terms of MigrateFun. He said, Taxito, my ears are burning. So we have a BonkFun Radio migration group that's going to be announced here pretty shortly. Got a few calls to kind of go through. And then we have a much larger migration group that we will be announcing here maybe in a few weeks. Maybe so should be around the end of November or so. Maybe it'll take place depending on where development co-marketing is. We have a brand new partner on this. I think a lot of people will be excited to see. In this group, I think I've got about 20 teams or so that have reached out for this. So I think some people can do I guess you can induce or kind of guess who the partner will be. There's only a few people that could perform or command this type of interest. So look forward to that. Thanks, Dax. That is fire. Congrats. That is awesome. Thank you, sir. Yeah, migration's continuing to grow. I think when this next thing is announced, once we figure out the plan, I think this will probably light some fuel or light a fire on the interest in migration. So good place to be in for the Emblem team, working with TokenWorks on the Emblem side, which is the most important or the biggest thing to happen to NFTs probably in the last year or so. And then on the other side with MigrateFun, making our way up the totem pole in terms of where the power lies in the AMM and Launchpad ecosystem. So look forward to that. And then we wrap it all up with Agent Hustle. I believe we just finished I have to do some final testing today for ETH mainnet and insert top 25 blockchain partner here. Both of those will be launched together. And our developers now started to work on some other EVM builds. We got one grant that we got a grant from one L2 that we're going to be adding as a priority. As I said before, we're going to be taking some shots here on some kind of smaller ecosystems in Agent Hustle to help people find tokens across all of these kind of ancillary L2s or you say maybe immature or budding ecosystems. And then we'll be diving into things like Polygon for Polymarket, Avalanche, BSC, Base, Abstract, right? All of these kind of ecosystems. But now that we have EVM mainnet, it's really just kind of changing the RPC and changing the chain code and adding in Uniswap, which we actually are kind of partnering with Uniswap or using some of their backend tools for the swap or swap aggregation across all of these different L2s. So good place for Hustle to be in. Man, a lot going on. I'm excited. Adam and I and Chris I think I got like 4 calls on schedule today after this, 3 calls tomorrow, 2 calls after that. Telegrams are just absolutely blown up with unread messages right now. So we'll wrap it up here, but there is a lot to look forward to. Adam, what are you most excited for our ecosystem throughout the rest of the year? What's to look forward to?
I mean, winners win, man, and MigrateFun's a winner, and so I'm super excited about that, man. You know, it's just to have one that's obviously a runaway winner is awesome.
I've been grinding at this for a while.
Yep.
To find that. And the Hustle's still the big one. Chris, what are you most excited for?
We've got a few things coming for Emblem. Shannon's kind of back on Emblem. I think that's like really cool. It's like the bread and butter of our whole company. But I think in general, I'm just most excited for the place that we are today. I think it's better than we've ever been. I think the team is more fired up, more in unison than we've ever been. And I think like obviously it's the biggest that it's ever been. So you know, a lot of these plans take a long time to actually get to the point where, you know, you're able to see them through and, you know, hopefully everything goes right. And, you know, a lot's been going right our way. So it's good to be at the stage of execution rather than just planning. And there's a lot of execution on the horizon.
Hey man, it was kind of funny. Like the last week or so, there's not many third-party calls and conference calls. I was almost trying to figure out what to do with myself because during from July to completion of this migration group, it was like every day, 12, 16 hours a day, calls and answering when marketing questions every few seconds, right? Like all that stuff. But coming into fruition. Also, I see that our developer just said that the MigrateFun SDK is nearly dialed in using just a few hooks from the React library. So I'm excited to roll that out with Moby. I saw that they are in their final stages of testing their new app that's going to compete with not only Dex Screener, but it seems like they're going after the trading platforms like Photon and GMGN and stuff. So they said this will be the only app that you ever need to use. Yeah, Dax says, woo, yay, glad to see it. Yes, sir. Happy for all of us to build SDK. Yeah, Dax loves that stuff. So do we. Honestly, it makes it a little bit easier on the teams, right? If you have an SDK. It's funny, I didn't know what the hell an SDK was a few years ago. And now, anytime I go check out a new platform, that's like the first thing I look for is, do they have an SDK? So then I can send to the dev team and kind of dig through and look at it for myself. So yeah, appreciate everyone. The space is getting smaller, but that doesn't mean that we stop. Whether there's 5 people here, 100 people, 1 million people, we continue to grind every day here at Emblem Vault. We are hustling. Everyone enjoy your Tuesday. We'll be back on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, stay safe out there. Good to see you, Dax. Good to see everyone in the crowd. And we'll see you guys soon.
Later, guys.